where he had nothing to really promote. It was just like maybe he did originally back when we were going to do it originally. It just never happened. I don't know what happened, but we just wound up talking about whatever, just kind of did it. And it turned into a pretty deep talk about life and what it all means. And I think basically it's a good way to start the new year as we head into the unknown. This is me talking to Mandy Patinkin. How's it going?
How's it going? Well, well as can be expected. The day is good so far. The dog did her business, and my wife is not totally furious with me.
That's good. You took the dog out? What, do you walk every day?
Oh, we walk several times because right now she's being treated for heartworm. So part of it is to give her prednisone, which makes her pee a lot. And
yeah.
Today was her very last prednisone pill. So for 8 weeks, she usually runs free. We live out in the country.
Yeah.
So for 8 weeks, she had to be on a leash, which we thought would be quite a shocking thing. But it's actually worked out great. And she's a dear heart. And we're very happy that in 2 weeks she'll be able to be off the leash. And
how old is it, dog?
I love this dog.
Yeah.
I can't even put it into words. We got her on March 13th, right after New York shut down.
Oh, okay.
And we didn't get her as a COVID dog. The kids kept saying, "Dad, you need a dog. You need a dog."
Why did they think
they were worried about me?
What was going on?
Rightfully so. I was alive.
Yeah.
So they thought get Dad a dog. And so Kath and I started talking about it when we'd been talking about it, and the problem always was my life. I'd travel and crazy. Where do you put the dog? What do you do? And but I wanted to take 6 months. When I finished doing a lot of work. I finished like 10 years on a television series, and then I finished 30 cities in a concert tour, and I said I need to stop. And I was going to stop for 6 months to a year and just see what life was like. And
oof.
I used to say to everyone, what about all the things that I didn't consider when I was a kid?
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Like anything, everything else that I didn't, everything else in life.
That you didn't do 60 years ago? You're going to,
yes,
what are you going to build model planes?
Exactly. Build model planes out of paper. And so anyway, but it's very, because I had a lot of friends that were retiring, and I would ask them, and they would all say, I'm busier than I ever was.
Right.
Doing this. And I thought, okay, so we'll see. But you can't see what that's like when the whole world retires with you, by force.
True. But you know what, though? You know what? I realized, Mandy, when that happened, I realized that there's nobody to resent for doing something you're not. So there is a piece to it.
Yeah.
Did that, it's like, well, what's that guy doing? Nothing. No one's doing anything. Well, that's relaxing. I mean, you gotta, that's one of the perks.
Yeah. Exactly right, Mark. And you're never testing yourself if something tempting comes along, whatever it might be.
No, there's nothing. There's
nothing coming along.
People might want you to use your voice for something or do one of these things, and that's it. That's all you got. This
is it. This is the highlight of my life.
Exactly.
Right
you can't call your agent.
I don't mean to pressure you, but don't fuck it up.
No, it's already been great. So. But there's no, you can't call your agent and go, what the fuck is happening? I didn't really want to retire. Nothing.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to enjoy your family and your dog.
Well, and that's, it's really been interesting. My son was on, he was away working, and he was my younger one. My older one's away with his then fiance, now wife, because they were going to have a wedding in October, and now it became a COVID wedding. So they actually had a beautiful wedding on a mountaintop by themselves, which I thought, a lot of people all over the world had those kinds of unions.
Yeah.
And in some ways I thought, my God, it's so pure. There's no commercialism involved.
No, believe me. If things don't work out, you don't disappoint 150 people who bought you presents.
That's right. And you can go have parties, till the cows come in when the time's right. And So, but my younger one was worried about us, and so he wanted to get here to take care of us and not go. We shouldn't go shopping, like we're invalids, in his mind. And once he got here, he calmed down, and we had a way of, living with safety and distance and no worries. And so, but the joy has been having him here.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So
how old is he?
He is 34, the younger one. And so he's busy working, his stuff. He's an artist, so he's in the room making up whatever he's going to do when he gets the green light to be free again.
Well, you have it seems like everybody around you. It seems like you come from a artistic family.
Well,
did you grow up like that? Where'd you grow up?
No. I mean, when you said that, I immediately thought of my family, south side of Chicago, and no artistic nature there. But I did hear that my grandfathers were cantors and moyles and shochets, for kosher.
Oh, really? So they were actually, you come from the Jews that were engaged with the community on that. I come from tailors.
Yeah. Well, we were actually, I think we were shoemakers, because in Polish, the name Patinka means women's slipper.
Huh.
So when I think therefore we probably had something to do with making shoes.
So you go back to Poland? Is that where it is?
Yeah, I actually found that we're also connected to Belarus recently.
Me too.
So Eastern European
Pale of settlement.
Yeah. And so I found this out because I did the PBS show Finding Your Roots.
Me too.
Has yours been aired?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine wasn't aired yet. So, Henry was incredible. And what they uncovered was just earth-shaking. I don't want to share what it was at this point, because I don't want to say what, their show.
No spoilers for the Patinkin genealogy line?
Yes, no spoilers for the Patinkin genealogy. I'm conditioned to not saying anything about anything I've done.
It's a big finish. It's a big finish. You don't want to ruin that for anybody.
There may be, although I spoke to them for about 5 hours.
Yeah,
so
I know.
God knows what they'll edit down to,
you get a very nice book and you get a book and a poster.
I got that. But it was my son, Gideon. He said, Dad, I'd love it if you would call these guys, because I think they'll do it with you. And I'd love to have it for the family to pass on, to everyone. And they do amazing work. And so I did it for him. But he called them, and they're going to send us all 5 hours. So he'll have that for his archives and whatever he wants to do with it.
He'll have the slow build to.
That's right.
The big...
And how have you been, Mark? How have you been doing?
The last couple of days have been difficult. I don't know why. It comes and goes.
Yeah.
I was full of dread and anxiety before, and then I had tragic loss of a loved one, and then this whole thing. But for some reason, there are moments where I wake up and I'm like, what the fuck happens now?
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry for your loss. I found out about it this morning. I listened to the whole podcast of you introducing
the old one
you met her.
Yeah.
When you met Lynn.
Yeah.
Listen to that and what happens now? I mean, for whatever it's worth, if we're lucky enough to live long enough, we're all going to go through this. But you don't want to go through it with loved ones that are in the prime of their life. And
right.
And you can't. I don't know how to process it, and I've been through it too many times.
Really?
And I have no understanding of it. Of all the places, I always tell friends, my favorite line in all of literature was written by Oscar Hammerstein from all things but a musical called Carousel.
Right.
And the line that I love, that I say to myself and all friends, is as long as there's one person on earth who remembers you, it isn't over. and I love it. And the other thing that I do because of that line, every day in my meditations or my prayers or walking the dog or whatever, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day before I go on stage, before I go in front of a microphone, I say these meditations, and inclusive in that is I say the names of everyone I knew who have passed on.
Huh.
And I do it for comfort and for the possibility that if Einstein's theory of relativity was right and energy doesn't die, no matter what energy inhabited before its new form,
right?
Then maybe I can talk to Moses or Jesus or Buddha or Abe Lincoln or my dad or
Sure.
or my best friend Bob.
They're all still around in some form.
I hope so. It's I live in my imagination.
Well, that's as long as it's a moral universe. I think that's what we all do.
Yeah. So that's the world I'm comfortable in, and it's a game, no doubt about it. But it's a game I like. I think it's all a game. I think religion is a great game invented by incredibly clever.
Well, how were you brought up?
Conservative Jew in Chicago, which I always say is an Orthodox Jew if you're from L.A. and a Reformed Jew if you're from New York.
Right. I was brought up conservative Jew in New Mexico. I come from New Jersey Jews. So basically, I don't know. Did you find, like, when I look back on it as I get older and spirituality becomes a question, or, I've never been that much of a seeker of divinity, but I mean, I found that as a Jew, I was taught nothing about building a relationship with God. We read the books, we went to the Hebrew school, but I never was taught how to use God. I was told he was there, but there was no practical way I could do it every day. I'm not going to do tefillin. I'm not going to, I'm not going to daven every day. So as a conservative, middle-class Jew, it was just the idea of God was never put into function for me.
Yeah, me too. All religion, people would say to me, were your parents Republicans or Democrats? And they were only men's club and sisterhood. The synagogue was the center of the life. I went to Hebrew school every day after 3:00 public school. Right. And I was there till, 5:30 or 6 when you go home for dinner. And, but I never believed in God. And my ultra-Orthodox Holocaust survivor friends, et cetera, would refer to it's necessary for you to breathe the fear of God into the fetus while it's in the mother's womb. Okay, so if that's what does it and gives you the belief of God, God bless you, and I hope you have a good, wonderful, peaceful life. That didn't happen for me, nor is it ever going to happen. But when I met my wife, 42 years ago, I had a feeling that I couldn't explain. We didn't want to get engaged or married. She didn't want to get married. She was a very 60s feminist person, and I didn't know what that meant. And so,
do you now?
I better not talk about that. So I have a whole list of things that I should print out and put on the walls that my children have said, Dad, don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. Don't mention this. Don't mention this. So it's
and now there's no escape. So you can't even go away for 2 days.
But we got married because I wanted to do something that was beyond my understanding of what I felt. And that definition of what's more than I understand is the word religion. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know what it means. But as I got older, and I'd say probably within the past 10 years, just certainly when children came along, I wanted to ask for other help to make sure they're okay.
Right.
And But at some point, I think within the past 10 years, my ultra-Orthodox friends would constantly refer to Hashem instead of God or G-D. And Hashem. I started Hashem. And I started using this word when I say my prayers every day. And so even though I don't believe in a literal God, I believe in energy, like I said, from Einstein, and that everything lives on in that way. But I'm nothing but a hypocrite, like most human beings. Yeah. And I speak to this person I've labeled Hashem that I heard the name from others, and I literally say, help me help you in any way I can, in any way imaginable. Right.
I mean, I've re-engaged with prayer, and I say I pray to the big nothing, and I think there is something about the act of it that puts you into a groove that has been carved for centuries, that there is a frequency there that you can tap into that is grounding. I've started to meditate recently, which I never did before, and I can see how that helps out a bit. But it's interesting to me, you speak of these ultra-Orthodox friends. How many ultra-Orthodox people are you hanging out with?
Well, there was mainly Mr. Sidney, who was the landlord in my apartment in New York. And he was a survivor of the Holocaust from Auschwitz. And we became dear friends, and I became dear friends with his family members. Huh. And I remember he told me about making matzah in Auschwitz with just some